And now we ask for John Smith and Michael Esposito. Same topic. Nice to see you again.
Thank you. Mayor Leanne Dalzell and councillors, thank you for giving the Christchurch Tramway the opportunity to speak today. The Christchurch Tramway made a presentation to the Environmental Committee in February in regard to closing the loop. The Environmental Committee were very interested in the deputation and advised that we make a submission for funds via the draft annual plan process. That's why we're here today. So I thought I'd give a little bit of background first on the Christchurch Tramway. So who is the Christchurch Tramway? Well, it's locally owned and operated. It's the same owners as Christchurch Gondola and Punting on the Avon. And the owners have made it, since the earthquake, the owners have made a long-term commitment to Christchurch and the recovery of the tourism in the area. They have an excellent working relationship with both Christchurch City Council and Sarah. The business leases the tracks from the city and leases most of the trams from the Heritage Tramway Trust. Benefits to the city for the trams, well, look, they're far too much to have on one slide, but I've put maybe the most important ones down here. Every city needs an icon to separate it apart from the other cities in the world, and the Christchurch Tramway is an icon that's internationally recognised. We need a reason for tourists and locals to go to the city, and the trams tick that box. As Ryan said before, the trams link the various shopping precincts. It's a hop-on, hop-off service which encourages retail spend. And unlike other hop-on, hop-off services or other things, we actually drop them right outside the front door instead of dropping them down the corner. So it definitely encourages retail spend. Unfortunately, the earthquake, we lost a lot of heritage, a lot of buildings, but the trams bring back much of that much needed heritage back to the city. And, they really look fantastic going around the streets. More and more today, the world or people want to hear a story about places they visit, and the trams do that also. With the live driver commentaries, they tell a story about the past, about the present, and about the city's bright future. As the various anchor projects are established, the trams will link with those also. And it's a means of access for for people to explore the inner city, and easy access for the million people who still visit Botanic Gardens, for them to visit the CBD. What the tramway means to locals in one simple sentence, it brings them a sense of well-being. You only had to see what happened with the tram opening. Brings something back familiar to the city. It gives them a sense of confidence that the recovery is underway and a sense of pride. The number of people that have come up to me since the opening saying, isn't it fantastic to have the trams back, has been really overwhelming. And the trams are part of the local community to support various charities and hosting events. For instance, currently we are giving away, in conjunction with More FN, giving away 500 annual passes. And that's sort of aimed at people struggling with the after effects of the quakes. And just on the annual pass is heavily discounted. It includes the tram and the gondola. So for $55, you can travel on the tram and gondola all year round, every day of the year, if you like. Since reopening, we've had 60,000 passengers since November. It's been a lifeline to New Regent Street and Cathedral Junction, and we think probably about half have hopped off and spent money. And it's been nationally and internationally recognised since opening. That builds confidence, not solely within the region, but also for outside the business, outside the region as well. So to the extension, this is what we think will be happening February next year. So we've got the loop going down Armour Street operational, and down the bottom there we've got a dog leg that goes into Cashel Mall and back again. The problem with the dog leg is that the trams need to go backwards and forwards, and logistically that caused problems and problems with frequency. But the council were aware of that, and at the same meeting in October, they asked the council staff to investigate construction of a crossover track, which would return the trams back to Cathedral Square. That investigation is underway, and we believe the economic advantage substantially outweighs the relatively small cost involved. So what's involved in closing the loop? I don't know if you can see on that slide there, but there's a small amount of red track there, just next to the cathedral, so probably 50 metres. That's the only track that's required to complete the loop. That track's in storage, so that's quite simple. And the line in blue is the overhead which is required. And with the buildings that would have come down, of course we need poles. But you can see there that basically the loop's complete except for a very small section. Why close the loop? Well, we're talking about revitalising the city. This continues to revitalise the central city by linking other shopping precincts, so such as high street shops, and we're talking both the northern end, High Street, and the southern end, which again increases retail spend. The voids trams going backwards. So I spoke about frequency. You know, we really need to keep our frequencies going because that keeps the people coming. So a better frequency means more people in the city, more people on the trams. It will save Christchurch City Council money on the traffic management plan. It will save money on consulting fees, additional signage, two-way traffic lights. Makes a figure of 8. So by making a figure of 8, it means if one part of the track cannot operate due to construction or deconstruction, the other part of that track can operate. And over 95% of the track is laid. So, you know, it's like having a building that's 95% built. Why wouldn't you finish it and get a return on it? And this is exactly what will happen. So completing this loop will increase revenue for the Christchurch City Council. Support for the loop. Overwhelming. 25% around about of all submissions to the council on the annual plan are in support of closing the loop. We've had letters of support from property developers, Ernest DeVille, Sean Stockman, Anthony Goff, accommodation providers, all the major hotels in the region, of course Christchurch and Canterbury Tourism, the New Regent Street Business Group, Cathedral Junction business owners, and of course the High Street business owners. So in conclusion, we have some important events happening next year. The Cricket World Cup, the Under-20 FIFA World Cup, and the Kapa Haka Championships. And Christchurch Tramway would like to expedite closure of the loop in time for these events, and therefore would like to see funds allocated for completion of the loop in this year's annual plan. Thank you.
Do you have the amount that would take?
Still being calculated, but in excess of $1 million, but probably less than 1.5.
So below 1.5 million to complete the 50 metre?
That's complete the 50 metres and the overhead.
And the overhead,
Yep.
Right.
So to be operable.
Yep, to be operative. Okay. Tim?
Just on, who owns Welcome Aboard Christchurch Tourism Group?
So there's 4 shareholders, 1, 2,
Okay,
and
so it's local business people,
Yes.
so it's not an entity elsewhere, it's
yeah,
local.
locally owned. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yanni?
Thank you. It's good to say that you've got a good relationship with Sarah. What I don't understand is, like, given the transport plan and given the retail developments that are happening, the car parking, the changes to the public passenger transport network, what is the kind of finished plan for the tram with the transport chapter that government have done?
Yeah.
Is there a map that shows what the future is?
No, the transport plan is more focused on traffic, cars, vehicles, buses, whereas the tram is more focused on inner city transportation as opposed to bringing people into the city. So I don't think it actually specifically covers that, Yanni.
Sorry, but if government are closing, I mean, they own a lot of the roads now. They've
Yes.
got designations over
Yep.
area. If we don't have a common plan, I think some of us would be quite nervous about spending money, not knowing whether government will come in the next day and take that land for a bus interchange or a bus super stop. So, how could we get a joint up plan?
Sure. Well, that current loop is, and Sarah, I understand where we're going, what's happening. I've just come out of a meeting this morning with Sarah on the trams going down Armour Street, how that fits into the Avon River precinct development. So they're aware of the whole situation, and it's not in any conflict with what they
I guess the area I'm particularly concerned about is High Street, the bus interchange, Litchfield Street, with the retail precinct that's going in, with the bus interchange and with the innovation precinct. No one seems to be able to show us what the plan is for traffic in that area.
Yeah, I don't know that that's a fair question to put to the submitter, though. That's probably something we have to address. Vicky?
I don't have a question. I just want to say a huge thank you to you guys for what you've done in Christchurch. I think you've absolutely put your money where your heart is, and I think it's fantastic. I think our responsibility now is just to get on and fix the bit that you're telling us about. And
Great,
thank you very much for an excellent submission.
I just did have just one last question, which is on what part of the track are you not able to use that's already been laid? So we've already made that commitment that we're not getting any return on at the moment because it's not operative. Because we haven't closed the loop, is there any part of it that can't be used at the moment because we haven't closed the loop?
So
Terraces, Cashel Mall, down to High Street, back around the back of the cathedral.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to get to is that it isn't just the cost of putting it in, it's actually the opportunity cost of not getting a return on what we've already invested in the ground by not completing the loop. So it's not as simple, this is a cost. We've actually sunk a whole lot of costs that we're not getting a return on at the moment because we haven't closed the loop.
that's right.
Would that be fair enough?
Yeah, it's a bit like that building example. You know, you've got a building that's 95% complete. You don't get a return on it until it's 100% complete. We just need to finish that last 5%.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers. Okay.